There's Em. Thanks for helping out, Em. I think Eric's busy. Hey, Em, have you been on Eric Warsaw's lives before? I'm going to mention Eric. I really like Eric. He's got some good lives, and he does an audience format like a panel, which and he does a really good job with it, I think. So, anybody who hasn't followed Eric Warsaw, let me put in Eric Warsaw. Let me see if I can type. Em, I'm going to answer you with this message. See if you can. Everybody can see it. I don't know how to pin messages. Eric Warsaw. I mean, I really like Eric. He's a really nice guy. And so is Liam O'Mara. Let me do one more with Liam. Hi, Cherry. Liam O'Mara. Liam O'Mara. I'm sorry, I messed it up. O apostrophe Mara. Liam O'Mara is a professor, history professor, that is really smart. I mean, really smart. So he was on Wednesday night we probably talked for like almost 2 hours. And then he went on his own live and did like 3 more hours. This guy's a workhorse. He's such a smart guy though. Just knows so much about stuff. Maz is there still. Cool. Thank you for being here. You know, it's fun. I like doing these lives a lot. But my guess is, which is unfortunate, my guess is that my tenure here on TikTok is going to be rather limited. And I think after the next time it happens, I'm probably just going to move on to greener pastures, because it just gets, it gets a little tiring to have to start over every, 30 days or whatever you want to call it. So, yeah, Liam's on there. Usually Liam's live, and so is Eric, most nights. I think Eric goes live every night from, 7 p.m. until midnight, East Coast, I guess. I don't know where he lives, but that's the hours, East Coast. That's impressive. And I think he goes 6 nights a week. So I'm live, I think, about 12 hours a week, maybe 15 sometimes. He's like 30 hours a week he's live. So, yeah, for those of you who don't know, different people come onto these, so I'll just tell you. So my name's Chip Barnes. This is my backup account on TikTok. I was just hosting the first hour of my traditional live session it usually goes from 8 to 10 p.m. So the first hour from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. We did it there, and then we're doing the second half here. I'm going to keep doing that for a while, because the goal is to have enough followers here on the backup account so that if anything happens with the primary account, we still have a big enough audience to do stuff together. So, how's my food storage? I'm not prepping, if that's what you're wondering. The reason I'm not prepping is because I live in a built-up area. And for those of you who are prepping in a built-up area, you're wasting your money. I mean, it'll last for a little bit at first, which is great, but I guarantee you this: if there are hungry people and you have something and they don't, they're going to find your something, and very quickly. And I don't care how much weapons you have, how much ammunition you think you're going to run out. So if you live in a built area and you're prepping, you're fooling yourself. Because if you step outside your house in 90 days and you look well fed, guess where they're coming? Wherever you go back to. Right? I mean, think about it. So if you know how to sustain yourself by living off the land, which can't happen here because the built area, the deer will be gone in 3 minutes. So, oh, I'm sorry, Alejandro's in the chat. I don't see him in the chat. If you wanted to come on, he could be, but no one's in the chat request right now. But yeah, so that's the reason now. The reason why a lot of people who are wealthier are building their bunkers, and people have these getaway places. If there's one of two things you can do. So you have your bunk finished building a really expensive one. I'm sure most people have something.
Yeah, how you doing, Clip?
I hold on. I didn't bring you up yet. Just to let you know. Just give me a second to finish the thought, and then I'll bring you on. So I was saying that Mark Zuckerberg has a bunker, or other people are building these getaways that are only accessible by helicopter. So they're like up on the mountains. There's no road. So it's either helicopter or you're not going there. And the idea is you have to have physical space between you and the masses of people, either by keeping them out of your bunker or away from your elevated property, so that, you have to wait for them to basically go through the process of fighting each other out and not eating until that process takes its course, if things get to that point. I think it's, for most of these rich people, it's like an insurance policy, just like you and I would buy some stuff for canned goods in the basement. You've seen people's rooms. I don't know if you watch the internet. There's all these people that do prepping, and I've seen these massive rooms of flour and canned goods and all these other foods that are supposed to last them for like 5 years. You're out of your mind. You think if you have a shotgun, an AR-15 or two, enough ammunition to get you through a week? No, you don't understand. The way that you protect yourself is with community. You have to have an entire, like a large community of basically like a small militia. If you're on your own, you're done. You're done. So don't waste your money or time. If that makes you feel better, do what you got to do. But you're spending a lot of money on something that will be taken from you if you think you're a built up area. You're not going to have enough weapons to keep people from coming in and taking it. So that's trust me, that's what's going to happen. Because just think of it for a second. If you were starving right now and you didn't have to prep, and there's nothing at the store, you can't find a deer, you can't hunt anything. What are you going to do? You're going to find some place. You're going to be searching places like mad to find stuff. You're going to be breaking into every property there. So, yeah, if somebody has the ability to defend themselves to an extent, they will, but that's not going to last long. And then people are coming. So it makes just common sense, right? Okay, so Alejandro, the reason I don't want to let you on quite yet is people are still filtering into the room. And once we kind of get our footing, then I'll let you come up. So I'm not trying to make you wait. But this is kind of the rhythm of how these things need to follow. I've just done it long enough now to get a sense of it like that. Well, people are prepping. Somebody says, why are people prepping? There's always been a perception that there may be some sort of breakdown of society. People have these beliefs that things could get bad at some point, and they rarely do, right? So people prep and then they're like, oh, it didn't happen. Just like people call for the end of the world and it never comes, right? But there will be a time, most likely, in different regions, whether it be here in the United States or elsewhere, where things will break down eventually, right? And the systems that normally supply the basics of life, the trucks coming to the stores, we've seen what's happening in Gaza, right? There's no trucks coming in or very few. And things get horrible, right? They get very difficult very quickly. And I believe the people in Gaza are very united. There's a homogeneous, really connected nature to the population. And so they're not going to go, quote unquote, hurt their neighbor to get something from them. At least I can't speak for everybody, but for the most part, they're a cooperate and survive type of mentality. But that's not every culture. And if you go in America, some people don't even know their neighbors, much less talk to them and have a community. Not everywhere though. There's a pretty good community where I live, and you know a lot of people. But again, it's not organized. You have to know people, you have to trust people, and you have to organize and you have to plan for this kind of stuff in order to have the ability to, do what you're going to do. So, like I said, if you don't have that part worked out, the rest of it doesn't matter, because you can have all the stuff in the world. If somebody just comes and takes it from you, what good is it, right? They'll probably thank you on the way out. Thank you for doing the preparing. Appreciate you. That's just how it works, unfortunately. So a lot of people are finding ways to avoid that, and their sense is something's going to happen. Think about it. What would have to happen for things to go bad? This is what they say. So the biggest fear, other than nuclear war, is what's called an EMP, electromagnetic pulse weapon, which exists, by the way. And it would knock out the grid and any electronics. Like all the vehicles wouldn't work that require computer chips. None of our electronics would work. The internet would go down. No cell phone service. And all the logistics systems would break down because they're all based on GPS and stuff like that. That's all going to be gone. And no electricity. So you have no refrigeration, no food storage, no food trucks, no grocery stores being restocked, probably not even any farmers markets after a while. And then what? Like Gaza, you can probably go the first 20, 30 days and scrape some, but what do you do when things really get lean, right? What happens then? Well, things get chaotic, right? Because people are trying to survive. And survival, you wouldn't believe what you do if you had to try to survive what you do. You just wouldn't believe it. So people do that. And then things get ugly. And then, so people don't want to be a part of that. If you're rich and you can guarantee yourself not to be a part of that, you have your little getaway, and it's either a bunker or a hilltop or both, whatever it may be. And that's just an insurance policy. If you had $100 billion, what's $30 million as a little insurance policy to have a place somewhere, right? That has staffing and security and all the food and all that stuff already worked out, right? I'd do it if I had the money. Although, I don't really want to live like that. But anyway, okay. So we have Alejandro here. Alejandro, we got a crowd that wants to hear what you have to say. So please come up and tell us what's on your mind.
I don't know why you brought up
Hello.
this prepping up for nuclear warfare. It started in 1963 or 1967 with the COVID shots that we got. That was just to eliminate the weaklings, the ones with bad hearts, bad
Hold
breathing,
on. Alejandro, listen, I'm not trying to cut you off. I don't want to tell you what to say or not to say, but I am going to let you know this. There are definitely some subjects that will cause us a lot of trouble. So, making definitive statements about the intent and the use of certain medical interventions in society is one of those things. I don't know. I don't know if we have proof to substantiate those types of allegations. I think a lot of people may share your point of view, but in terms of putting it into this forum that way, there's other forums where we can talk more directly. I don't want to involuntarily step on a grenade, letting this kind of conversation take that course. So you can understand what I'm talking about. So please don't do that here. If you want to have a conversation on Telegram or Twitter, great. But this is not the place, unfortunately. I think you can come back now. I reset your microphone.
yeah. Okay, am I on? I don't think
Yeah.
there's going to be a nuclear warfare because
Okay.
everybody's afraid of everybody. The ones that got the nukes. Even Israel has them, and Iran has them. Russia, China. Now the little rocket man also came on the news today that he's also prepping up his military machine,
Yeah.
and I don't know what their plan is with the rocket man coming up in the news today because I was with Eric Warsaw Live earlier,
Mhm.
and that came up, and it just made no sense that the little rocket man wants to join in because he's being left behind. He's just nothing. Okay, the problem is we were talking about the numbers. 197 today
Yeah.
unalive in Israel. And I was asking Eric if he had the numbers of the casualties of the unalive and the herd and the cats and dogs. And last night was at 29,500. 187 injured, 35,000 women unalive, not counting the kids and children, right?
Hold on. Hold on. Did you say 35,000 women?
Let me get to my paper. I wrote it
That can't be
down.
right because the total amount is more than the public
No,
statement
no,
right now.
I got the paper down right here. I was just outside. Okay. As of, I think last night was
Hold on. Just Alejandro.
29.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. What is the source from which you're sharing this? Do you know the source of the information? Is this the H Group Health Agency?
No, the Wikipedia, because this is the only sources that we can trust. We cannot trust CNN or Fox because they will tell you the wrong numbers.
What is the source?
Like Eric said, Wikipedia.
Wikipedia?
Yeah.
I mean,
So here's the
Wikipedia?
numbers. It's 29,400 plus children. Okay. 5,800 plus women. 56,100 plus injuries. 1,920,000 millions of people displaced.
Yeah.
104 journalists. As of I think last night or the earlier last night, because we're in different time zones, right?
Yeah.
And not counting cats and dogs and the agriculture they destroyed. They've been destroying even the olive trees, unrooting them. That they've been there for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about. Total destruction of humanity. That's what the hot topic was with Eric Warsaw.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because I got this the day before last night, and I was asking Eric Warsaw, do you have the latest numbers? And he showed it, and he said just today 197 or 187 people unalived.
Yeah.
So, and I asked him a question. I go, okay, if you got a calculator, start from the day when it started. How many people a day are being unalived? And he gave me a number, but everybody was trying to butt into the topic, and they're bringing up crazy numbers. Like every day, it just keeps growing and growing and growing on Gaza right now. It's just growing and growing and growing, and it's unbelievable. You know, I don't know if you heard the dates on because I asked Eric Warsaw where he was getting his most accurate information. And since he's got a computer and I don't have a computer, I'm on the phone. It's kind of hard because you don't know which one is the most accurate. Al Jazeera I think, is the most accurate, but you know they're being censored also. Everybody's being censored, like you were censored yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, just for saying something nice. They're even taking it as if you say something nice, oh, now you're anti-Semitic. And I wonder where you're at with these numbers today.
You know, those numbers sound high versus the ones that I've heard announced. I've heard the announcement that it's just shy or just over 21,000 that have been unalived, and the injuries are probably 2 to 3 times that I've heard about. But I don't have a source to back up the numbers that you've said.
Well, I got the 29th, 400 children plus dead. Yes, just children.
No, there's
29,400.
No, that's not accurate. That's not accurate.
Well, it's Al Jazeera and a couple of members on TikTok. That's what they've been talking about.
Well, if somebody's saying that from children alone, 29,400 children, that's definitely not accurate.
No, and it says plus 29,400 plus children.
I don't believe that's the case, but if it could be, but that's not.
Yeah, because the children. Remember, if you're sleeping in your little house or building, 5, 6, 7-story high, once that building comes down, it's gonna take everybody with it. You know.
I completely understand what's happening. I just went to the internet and typed in Gaza Health Ministry.
If you got the numbers.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Yeah.
I just checked. It says the Gaza Health Ministry has announced that 21,320 people have been unalived in the Palestinian territory since the war erupted on the 7th. Another 55,603 have been wounded. This is as of Thursday. So that would be yesterday. So it doesn't account whatever happened today, which I heard was like another 100 and some, which was you just mentioned. So I don't know how you're getting the numbers.
Those are the numbers that I got. Now that's why I asked Eric Warsaw where was he getting his most accurate information.
I can't answer that. All I can tell you is what I just read you was much closer to the numbers that I understood. Yeah,
and you know well that. The United States media, they're gonna lie because they're bought and they're corrupt, and the information we should really take in consideration is of the people that are on the ground. And Eric Warsaw had this person that came on live. It was about 8 o'clock Central Time over here, but it was like 5 a.m. in Palestine. So those are the only people that can actually give you the numbers. But we know that the numbers are gonna accumulate. In these 2 weeks, it's gonna just rise up. Like unbelievable, right?
Yeah, somebody in the comments just asked if the Gaza Health Ministry is trustworthy. My answer is I don't know exactly. I don't know if anybody knows for sure. I don't know whether they would have a reason to exaggerate. They certainly wouldn't underreport the numbers, right? I don't think so. But
If they cut off the electricity, most of the region, how are you gonna uh, uh, transfer the information through the airwaves? If you got no gas, no electricity, the most important electricity right now is the nine hospitals left, or 9 or 13 hospitals left out of 39, I believe.
let me answer that for you.
Yeah.
People have solar panels that charge batteries or have direct electricity coming from them. People charge their phones, and then they have these eSIMs that work with either Egyptian data or Egyptian cellular networks. So people from the southern part of Gaza can communicate with people and at least talk the news out that way if they have to, or they can
Yeah,
send
but
stuff
how
across
long
the.
is that gonna last until the ground troops start destroying everything around them? That's what they've been doing. How long is that gonna last?
I'm not sure how long it's going to take the
You
Israeli
know,
military to get through the entire South. I don't think
because
anybody's know.
if you hold a satellite or some type of device to be able to communicate with the outside world, what do you think the soldiers are gonna do? They're gonna step on it.
They've been doing that already.
Oh no! Well, yeah, we all know that. And who was that person that came on to you saying that he didn't know nothing about what was going on? Where was he from and what country? Because I believe you asked him that he
I'm
didn't
not
know
sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure to whom you're referring.
before you started, before you cut off on the other live. That you told us to go to Truth Seekers 670.
You talking
That
about
was
tonight?
before you.
Talking about
No, right
tonight?
now, right now.
Am I? You're the only guest that I've had, right?
Yeah.
So who
But
are you
you said
referring to? That's what I'm
you
trying
said
to.
that you were gonna go off of this chat and go to your other website that said Truth Seekers 670. Chip
That's where we
Barnes,
are.
right?
That's where we are right now.
Yeah, as we. But before you were live.
I'm really confused. Am I missing something here? Is this person? I'm
Yeah,
not
you
sure what you're
mentioned
asking.
that you were gonna cut off the other transmission
Right?
because of some with TikTok.
But what
And
what I'm
then
getting at,
you told the whole public to go.
what is the point you're trying to bring up though? Like what's the point of what you're mentioning?
Um, you were on another talk live just like 10 minutes
Yeah.
ago, and
Yeah, I was on.
you told the public to go to truthseekers.com because you were gonna be cut off in
No,
3 minutes
no,
because of the
hold on,
bias.
hold on. Okay, let me explain it so you understand. So the reason why I wanted to have two different lives tonight was because the primary account is at risk of coming down at any moment, which has happened 4 times before, and I don't anticipate that's going to change. So what I'm trying to do is to get a following established on this account, which I have 102,000 plus people on the primary account, and I think I have like 3,400 here. So that's what, 3% or a little bit more than 3%. So I'm trying to get more people from here to come over to here. And the way that I'm trying to do that now is I'm going to start part of my live broadcast on the main channel, main account, and I'm going to move the second half of it over to here. Eventually, what I plan to do, not that I want to, but I'm going to start moving my broadcast half here and then half over to Rumble. And if somebody wants to watch both halves, they can come to Rumble. If they don't, they can just watch the first half here. Then I'm going to take most of my lives and move them elsewhere and only do maybe one a week for an hour here. And the reason I'm doing that is not because I don't want to serve TikTok. I love TikTok. It's a cool app. I enjoy it. It's the first place I got started. It's like my baby. But unfortunately, it's like a sick baby and it's not going to live much longer. And that I kind of see the writing on the wall because of the shenanigans. So therefore, I kind of feel like I have to start doing that because I'd be a fool if I didn't. And I'm not a fool, at least I try not to be. So I can either stay here and do exactly what would be easier for most people, which I don't want to do anything hard for people, but we're going to lose touch with each other is what I'm trying to say. And I'd rather not lose that audience if we don't have to lose it. So that's why we did it tonight. And there's no website. It's the way you can get to the other account can be done through a website if you type in the link tree, or if you type in, you can go to TikTok and type in the thing yourself inside of TikTok, or you can click the link in my link tree. That's what I was trying to say. So I hope that clears it up.
So yeah, well, I'll let the next person that wants to come on and give us some more info on the situation going on. But yeah, I was just thinking about the person that came on your live, saying that he didn't know what was going on, and I believe you were telling him, are you trying to make fun of me or something? Because everybody knows what's going on.
No. When you said the person that came on, I have no idea what you're talking about. In other words, are you talking about tonight or a different night?
Tonight.
No, nobody else has come on tonight, Alejandro.
So then something's
sure
going
what you're
on with
talking
TikTok, because
There's
that's what I heard.
We started at 8 p.m. tonight. Okay.
Yeah.
There was going to be a guest that had asked me if he could come on. I talked to him briefly. He was somebody that I heard on a live. We had loosely confirmed him to come on as a guest tonight between sometime between 8:30 and 9 p.m. He didn't come, which is okay. So I spoke the entire time, and about 15 minutes before we came over here, I started mentioning the fact that we're going to move over to finish the second half here. There weren't any other guests. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Well, I'm not hallucinated. I don't know what I heard, but I heard that clearly.
When you say you heard that,
I don't know if they're already trying to sabotage your TikTok account again.
the only time
I don't know.
Alejandro, listen, I don't know what you saw, but I'll just repeat it one more time to make sure that we're clear. So unless I'm hallucinating, which I'm hoping I'm not, I don't drink
Yeah,
alcohol.
well, me too. That's the thing. That's where I'm already questioning my
Let me
my
finish.
mentality here.
So tonight is Friday, the 29th of December, 2023. I started a live on my primary account, which is Chip Barnes 67 at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We talked about this, that, and the other. So I started off with talking about the fact that, what's going on with it. Videos coming down.
Yeah,
that kind of
I mean, there's a lady that answered me. The lady, she says, "You mean the lady in the comments not understanding why was Palestine involved?"
There was a lady in the comments says, what is it about what is it about Palestine or something like that? And I did but she wasn't.
Yeah, what was that about? Yeah, what was that about? That's where I got lost.
She had asked. I thought it was a joke at first, because the question was, what is going on with Palestine? That was, or what is it about Palestine, or something like that. And I thought she was kidding. So at first I said, you got to be kidding.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I got lost. I got lost right there.
Let me. I can't explain it if you don't let me explain it.
Yeah.
So what I was trying to respond to her was, if you don't know anything about the conflict, please go to Google and type in, Israel-Palestine conflict or October 7th attacks or something like that.
Okay.
That did happen, yeah, but we didn't have any guests come on.
No, what I was thinking, she was just trying to baffle you.
Yeah, this is kind of how I feel about that. And again, anybody can do what they want. But if somebody isn't aware that there's an issue with Palestine at this point in the process, that's not really somebody with whom I want to connect up with. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. That's where, because I was on the speaker and I'm cooking, and you said you had cooked and everything, and I'm trying to cook and listen to you, and being on the speaker, and I gotta shut off the Bluetooth, and I just kind of got lost, sidetracked.
Okay. All right, no worries. I just want to make sure we're good. Okay, thanks a lot, Alec. Have a good night, Alec.
All right, have a good night.
See you soon. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad we got through that. That was a little unusual, but I'm glad we worked through that. Okay. Somebody said that somebody asked me if I heard about we talked about that earlier when we were on the other channel, about somebody says that I hear about South Africa they didn't bring charges. Okay, you don't bring charges. You send a recommendation to the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, not the International Criminal Court, which is the ICC. but the ICJ, you can recommend to the body that they charge a certain entity with a war crime or whatever the case may be. So they wrote up a document and they sent it off to the ICJ recommending that they take that action against Israel. I'm not sure about the US. So yeah, we talked about that briefly. I don't think it'll have any teeth because, like everything else, the powers decide who gets charged and who doesn't, and they're definitely not going to get charged. So we have two people waiting in the queue, so I want to let them through. We have Abul Abed and Shmedrick Putz. Okay, let's let Abul Abed. I'll try to answer the questions in the chat too while we're doing that. Why would the Gazan government be doing the same if capable? I'm not sure what that means, Sully. Hello?
Good evening to you, sir. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Chip, I follow you on and off. I like your insight on things, on matters. I am sure during this G-side that's going on, you gained a lot of insight. You had a lot of insight before, and you gained a lot more. Where do you see this going? Where do you see it ending? How do you, see a way out other than decimating the whole entire Gaza Strip? Or is that the plan? Or where do you see this going?
Well, predictions are tough because it depends on who's going to do what. So the way I see it right now is, one, I think the U.S., because of the political repercussions to the current Biden administration, they want it to stop. I mean, they probably wanted it to stop 3 weeks ago. But the Netanyahu government has a different approach, and it seems like, based on what they've said publicly, that they want to continue indefinitely. So there may be a brief humanitarian pause at year's end, which may last for a week, maybe two, maybe if it happens. Maybe there'll be some conflict going on throughout it while they ask people to move to different designated areas, which seems to be what they're doing. But it appears to be, to the outside observer, that they have no desire to stop what they're doing. And it seems like they're trying to further and further squeeze the population into an ever smaller segment of the southern part of Gaza, with what looks like the eventual goal of squeezing them entirely out of the territory, if they can do it. That's what it appears to be. Now, whether that will be allowed to happen, given the political dynamics and the outrage from the international community and all the pressure that's being brought to bear, as well as wondering, will some of the surrounding states permit it to happen, like given Hezbollah, the Houthis, and the Iranians? I don't know. Those are the variables that we have to see what will play out.
I mean, I hear what you're saying when we touch on Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Iranians. I mean, living in this part of the world, I don't have much faith in that. They're all the same. You flip the coin, it's the same. I have to be politically correct considering where I'm at. It's just a game, what they're pulling. They're all part of the same game plan that's going on. Yeah, I mean, take Big H here, down south, north of Israel, targeting Poles, for crying out loud. What kind of pressure is that putting? Where the daily order comes from. It comes from
targeting Poles. I'm not sure what you said.
Okay, targeting. What are they doing? In effect, in the north of Israel, what's happening? Southern Lebanon, north of Israel. What's really happening on the ground?
You're talking about what is Hezbollah doing? You're talking about so
correct.
The Israelis. Correct. There've been counter border skirmishes with missile attacks back and forth by the ground forces. There's been bombing raids done by the Israeli military Air Force into southern Lebanon. They've also gone into Syria and bombed the airports in Aleppo and Damascus. And
no, I understand that. I understand that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Chip. I truly respect your opinion.
But what was happening, so I just told you what was happening.
No, I mean, in a sense, it's like it's a play, theatrical play. They're playing this game. Okay, you target this place, we'll target you back here. Okay, you're doing something, way to go, buddy. Okay, we're skirmishing between each other. There's a skirmish here, skirmish here, skirmish there. But in essence, what is it really doing? I mean, absolutely, positively nothing. The only place that's taking a beating is Gaza right now. Well, Syria is taking a beating as well, in Idlib and what have you, different areas. But on the ground, as a matter of effect, I mean, even take the Houthis. Okay, they're taking a ship here, they're taking a ship there. All theatrics. What's really happening? I mean, I don't know. For all I know, they're sending the ships to Yemen. They're loaded with weapons and whatever, and the Houthis are taking over. What's really happening? Is it really affecting anything on the ground in Gaza? Is it stopping anything? Is it distracting Israel from doing anything? I
No,
guess that's what I'm trying to say.
no, obviously not. I mean, if there was, they would stop doing what they're doing. They haven't stopped anything. So, I think it's. I'm glad they're doing something other than just talking or watching, which is good to see. The Lebanese being willing to fight back and forth, but of course their hands are tied given what the Iranians are going to want them to do. But the Houthis are obviously taking greater steps because they can. They have the ability to do what they're doing. And obviously, it's a nuisance to have ships taken or to have that shipping route be blocked in such a way that you have to take a much more distant and circuitous route to get to Europe to get your supplies. So it delays everything. It's a nuisance, but it's not debilitating or crippling.
That's my whole point. And what's the U.S. doing about international shipping? I mean, if they really it was doing anything to sabotage or distract Israel, then the U.S. would have done something about it. But they're permitted to do it. They're such a small group; they could be taken out in no time.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to do theatrics? Do theatrics. What the heck? It's good. You're fighting guys. Go for it. But you're not fooling anybody. They're not fooling a big chunk of the people in the area. It's all theatrics. That's the whole point. Well, again, the daily order is coming from Tel Aviv, from Jerusalem now, whatever. But the Arab countries are who's Sisi, who's this, and who's that. They're more Zionists than. Biden comes out publicly and says, "I'm a Zionist." That's fine and dandy. Okay. The rest of the Arab world, they're scared to come out publicly and say that. But in true essence, they are. You see protests in Europe. You see protests in the U.S. Have you seen a large protest in any Arab country? No, you haven't, because your fate will be sealed. You go to
Yeah.
the streets, or
That's the problem,
unfortunately.
is that the repression in those countries is going to be bad.
The repercussion would be bad, and hence and thus, when I'm looking for a different outlook from, the Western outlook, as what is going to truly affect a ceasefire, not just a truce here and there, or just a limited truce, because the children, this is the year 2023, we're going into 2024, and the G-side is going on a mass scale,
Yeah.
and nobody's doing anything about it. I guess that's what,
I think in fairness, I mean, just you have to take the other side look at from the other side of the fence. So it's not that people don't care. I would imagine that especially President Erdogan in Turkey, if he had his druthers, he could stop it today. But there's so many other considerations you have to think about in terms of your alliances, economics. The Turks are allowing oil to pass from Azerbaijan to go to Israel, right? People are mad about that. So on the one hand, Erdogan says publicly, this needs to stop. On the other hand, he lets this key resource flow, which is a good portion of the oil that the Israelis import for running their business and running their military machine. So
correct.
they have to balance a lot of considerations. And there's been some questions in the chat that I wanted to address. So people have asked, like, who's winning the war? Well, it's not. Wars have different components to them. So in terms of the different components, remember that Israel has air superiority. They have the only air capability. So from that standpoint, they're winning using that arsenal. Like, there's just no contest, right? It's not even a war. It's a targeting exercise for different munitions. There's no combat. But from the sake of the ground skirmishes, I would say that while the Israelis have made progress in movement, whenever they've had direct combat with the H group militants, they've gotten their asses kicked. So the H group is being very strategic in how they operate so they don't take large losses. And they're drawing the Israelis into more difficult areas to operate, and then they're coming up and engaging them. So the Israelis have this false sense of, from a territorial standpoint, they control the north, but H group has pulled back. And their goal is to stop them from moving south of the midline and into Khan Yunis and towards the south, where Rafah is. That's what their goal is, and that's what the fight will ultimately be. And I don't think the Israelis, from a ground troop standpoint, can win that battle.
Like you said, Chip, this is not a war. This is a G-side. A war is between two equal armies or whatever. That would be a war, but a single side, G-side. I mean, way to go for these guys, really. I mean, 83, 82, 83, 84, whatever days now, and they're still standing barefoot, bare chest, and, this is not a war in any way, shape, or form. But Chip, I'll drop down, bring somebody up. Always a pleasure talking to you, my friend. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. Okay, thank you very much for coming on. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's a mess, right? And the thing is that this is the part that feels so bad. The helplessness that everybody looking on with absolute disgust is just that we can't do anything about it, right? That's what's been so hard for me to take. And you call your elected officials, you go out and march and protest, you stop buying certain things, you get online and inform people, try to do other forms of activism, and no one seems to listen. And that is the bigger problem, not just affecting this issue. It's a Western world problem and other places too. Like, let's face it, in some of these more repressive regimes like Iran and even Al-Sisi in Egypt, you can't go out and protest. You're going to go to jail or worse. So these are big problems, right? So the people more and more have very little control, and I think people feel frustration, and that's why there was the Arab Spring and Occupy Wall Street and stuff like that. And who knows what's going to be the next chapter of that kind of stuff. Okay, we have a couple people waiting. We have Schmedrick Putz waiting.
Oh, okay. Good evening. I'll be very quick. Obviously, from my name, I don't want to go into details about pro-Israel or whatever. I just want to make one. Well,
You can
basically,
say, no, you can say whatever you want. I'm not
yeah.
interrupting
The
you. You are
definition of
total
the H
total freedom
group
here.
is not a T group. H group, in me, this is my opinion. If you remember Charlie Manson or the Hells Angels or any kind of defective psychotic group, that is the H group. Now, the second thing, and you kind of hit on it, so we can
Can
go
I
into
can I
details
just
about who's.
before we jump away from that, Schmidt? I'm not trying to challenge you. I'm just asking
Go
you
ahead.
what do you base that assessment in terms of
On
categorizing
the
it?
documented actions that the people who participate, the psychotic, mentally ill, diseased people who participate in that group, who have disregard for their own people, the butchery and the destruction and murder that they committed. Now, you can come up with the statement that, well, it was the Israelis that did that. So we can go on, back and forth. But it's just my opinion. You can believe that they are a fundamentally a righteous group.
I just
But
want to find out what you base that upon. That's all I was just going to ask that.
I believe that the same ideology that drove Charlie Manson to slaughter Sharon Tate based upon a record is the same kind of mental instability, the derangement that's in those people. But again, that's my opinion. And, I can't document it. The other thing I was going to say, and you kind of hit upon it. So whatever the pro-Palestine, because the Arab, there's no P in Arabic. Whatever you do, my suggestion is I want Egypt, I want Jordan, I want Syria to declare war on Israel and defend Gaza. Now, you say the governments won't do it. Well, how about all the Palestine people, supporters, instead of marching, go to Amman, go to Cairo, stir up the people, and march into Gaza and defend the Arabs being killed there. Now, if you can't get them to do it, let's go to Malaysia, which detests Israel. Let's bring Malaysia. Let's bring Bolivia, which broke off relations. How about Cuba? South Africa, which hates Israel. Bring those armies in and support their Arab brothers.
So you think a more involved conflict with more fighting and more escalation would be the answer to the situation?
I think that instead of screaming and yelling in the streets, the Palestinians, instead of going on berserk about details and who's right and who's wrong, I would suggest that they go to these countries that detest Israel and either talk to the governments or bring the people to invade Israel. I think that if I was in their place, I would say, hey, Arab brother, support our people. They're being slaughtered. So you say Egypt, Sisi, but how many people are in Egypt? There's millions. Why can't the Egyptian people take it upon themselves to march in to Gaza?
So I can answer that for you. Just like it's the same thing in our country too. Are you from the United States or are you from somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm from the United States.
So a
So
fair question would
yeah.
ask just to kind of counter that thinking process. So yeah, I mean that's a possibility, right? But in terms of its likelihood, it's on the lower end of the spectrum. I'll give you an example in the U.S. So there are many people here that kind of see the writing on the wall now that the electoral process is not a viable path to change most things. They've kind of gotten tired of you vote Republican one time and same kind of stuff happens for the most part. You vote Democrat and this happens over and over and over. You're like, when is this going to change? The question is, why haven't the Americans risen up and overthrown the U.S. government to obviate that problem?
I don't know. I'll tell you one thing, and I think you can confirm it. So people in the pro-Palestine believe that the United States is pro-Israeli. Not really. I'll tell you what the United States is. They're pro-NASCAR, they're pro-NFL, they're pro-relaxing, and they're pro-eating. That's what they're really about. And their patience is running out. They're running out. The patience with Israel is running out. Biden is running out. Biden basically wants Israel to stop. Blinken wants it to stop. The State Department, which never liked Israel, which likes Saudi Arabia, they want it to stop. Their focus is on China. They don't want the Ukraine war to continue. So the United States, I've seen the United States turn, and you know that you've seen it. They can turn on the people that they support. And I think they're running out of patience.
Well, I think that the U.S. has the political power. If they really wanted to, they could get stern with the Israeli leadership, and they could take a more serious tact with them formally. But I believe that the public language is probably an expression of some of the frustrations that they feel, but they're not. I don't think it's indicative of the actions they're willing to take behind the scenes to actually stop what's going on, or they would have.
Yeah, but United States people are complaining of the high cost. They already basically shut down the machinery for Ukraine, and I think they're going to throw Israel in the same thing. Remember in '73, remember Henry Kissinger, when Israel was invaded, he refused to resupply Israel. He said, no, we're not going to give you missiles. We're not going to give you this. In fact, Israel recently got a shipment of rifles that was stopped. The Pentagon is getting wary of this. The Pentagon doesn't want this. I think they're about to throw in the rag. I know you think that they support it, but they don't.
I would be very happy to hear if that was correct. Yeah, I'd be very, very happily surprised. It'd be great.
United States, people think that the United States cares about everyone else. The United States has always cared about itself, rightfully so. Mm-hmm. And the United States people are really extremely provincial. They really only concern themselves with what happens here. They don't care about anywhere else. Yes, we think we do, but we really don't. We really are not interested in any other place. We're just interested in what we do, in our comfort, and really the ability to make money and have a relaxing life. They don't, it's not important what they do in other places. Now, you know as well as I, in the years since World War II, I mean, the idea was that the United States wanted to be a world power in order to prop up its economic base. So it comes and goes. I mean, with Ukraine, for instance, they supported the Budapest Agreement, and then they backed out. They just said no. And why not? Why would the United States support an agreement that's going to tax it, to cause it to go into a lot of commitment in terms of supplies and money? And I think that's the same way. I know you hope. I think that's basically the same way with Israel. And I think wasn't the aid to Israel by Biden as well as Ukraine wasn't that stopped? Isn't that still not being funded?
No, it's being funded by executive order rather than being appropriated by Congress, which is its own political outrage right now in the U.S. as far as the Republicans are concerned. So
it got through. It actually got through the full funding.
No, not the full funding, but two temporary, quote unquote, emergency funding declarations that have gone from executive order. And I don't know the exact amounts, but yeah, there's a lot of consternation on people like Matt Gaetz, the Freedom Caucus of the Republican Party, is like, this shouldn't be allowed. How can the president be able to bypass the legitimate functions of Congress, which is the power of the purse? I don't agree with a lot of what you've said in terms of you've laid it out as if it's so. I'm glad that you have your take on it, but much of it, I think the variables are different than how you're seeing them. But I respect your ability to have your opinion.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And as I said, once again, I understand. The marches. It's so frustrating. I mean, I see that they're angry, they're frustrated. If I was in their place, as I said, I would try to. If you can't appeal to the Arab governments, you appeal to the people. The Libyans, the Algerians. Algeria is a country that detests Israel. Why can't
Now,
they send an army?
you made your point about that. I think I think just like the people raising the U.S. citizens don't want to rise up, it's fear of being repressed harshly. So, thank you for mentioning your
Okay,
points.
thank
Yeah,
you. You take
thanks a
care.
lot. Yeah, I think those are some interesting points to raise, and if they're fair to talk about. Just imagine if you're one of the people in one of those countries right now, and yes, it's breaking your heart as to what you're seeing happen. But do you want to try to overthrow your government, try to overthrow the military, then invade Israel that has the protection of the most powerful, most highly nuclear armed country, or one of the top two in the world, and maybe destroy the entire fabric of your country forever by taking that? It's just not within the form of reality, right? Now, as far as why do people protest? Because it's something they can plug into without a lot of risk, and they can do it to get their emotions out at an event. It's something they can do to just vent a little bit. But most people, I think it's fair to what he pointed out about most people having an inward focus on their lives. Not everybody here thinks that way, because that's why we're here. But if you took a poll of 10,000 Americans, and like there was somebody on tonight who hadn't heard of what's going on, I mean, that would shock us, right? Like, what do you mean? But there's probably a lot of people that aren't following this closely. They may have seen it on the news, but it doesn't affect them. It's like out of sight, out of mind, right? Unfortunately, that's the case. So, but when something does finally reach your front door, then you care about it, right? So we'll see what happens there. Okay, thanks for getting a hold of us. We have about 5 minutes left. There's 3 people waiting in the queue. Rachel, I'm going to let Rachel be our last person tonight, and unfortunately I have to shut it down in 5 minutes or so. I have another live I've been invited to be on, so I have to get off tonight at the right time. Are you there, Rachel? All right, Rachel seems to be timing out. We have Maverick. Let's see if Maverick has something to say here.
Hi, Chip.
Hi.
I was so keen to get up and engage with Schnittler or Schmuck or whatever his name was. He had a very interesting and amusing viewpoint. 2 key questions I wanted to ask. I won't ask those now because I'll save those for a other pro-Israeli Zio or just uneducated person. If anything, we could continue the teamwork conversation or facts and figures. I mean, a lot of people in the comments that were, how do we do this? How do we come together? So on and so forth. It's basic. It's just basic teamwork, whether you apply the teamwork logic to sports, military, individual units within military, so on and so forth, work environments. It's not rocket science. Stick together, work towards one core aim, whether you do that as a large collective, small individual group, so on and so forth. That's the only way to bring down the political system. It's the only way to destroy the IDF.
I wanted to ask just one thing. You're on a good roll. I don't want to stop you, but I didn't answer one of his points. He made this declaration that he compared Charles Manson or psychopathy to the people of the H group. You could say some of the actions that were carried out that were atrocities, if there were, to whatever extent they were. We still don't have every clarification on that, but I disagree with that for the most part. They're usually in conflict. There's some behavior that falls along those lines. But I think the primary objective, and this charter was revised accordingly by H Group in 2017, to say their target isn't to harm Jewish people. It's to fight back against the occupation and the blockade of Gaza and the oppression under which they find themselves as a people. And they're the more militant group that can try to do something to push back. It's to shake the status quo up and get the attention of the world, which that's worked, right? So to that extent, they've achieved a political objective, which is the point of retaliation. Sorry, I'll let you continue there.
No, to go along with what you just said, I think the aim or plan of whatever it was on the 7th was to basically get in, get hostages, get out. Unfortunately, command structures or people that went in didn't necessarily follow the plan.
Right.
That's what I would think. In the same way that that Israel have given the IDF commanders a set of orders. A lot of those IDF soldiers haven't necessarily stuck to the plan. That's how they ended up unaliving 3 of their own. They didn't follow rules of engagement.
Well, they actually did. That's the crazy part. They did follow rules of engagement. They were told to basically unalive anything that moves. Period. Full stop.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you go by the Hannibal doctrine, then yes, they did what, and they're using the pretense or cover of we made a mistake, where we're going to retrain our people, and that's where things fall down. And that's why there's all about giving people free will, individual thinking, so on and so forth. But the whole purpose of rules, orders, sticking to instructions, this, that, and the other are so paramount when you're carrying out any sort of plan. Where you manage to do that and execute it well, things work out, and that's as much about holding your resolve. This is why, like you said, the IDF is not trained or suited through their lack of experience and the fact that the majority of their frontline soldiers are, young 18, 19, 20-year-old people who are just doing their 2 years service.
Right. I hate to jump in. We're at that time of the night where I have to unfortunately close it down. If you want to come back tomorrow or Monday, I'd love to have you on because I really enjoy your input. We're going to be on from 12 noon tomorrow until about 2 p.m. So that's are you from the UK?
Yes. I'll if I see you come up live, I'll gladly jump in. We can engage in whatever sort of.
I'd love to have you back tomorrow. So come on, please. Okay.
No worries. Take care.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's late over there in the UK, by the way. It's really late. Thank you so much for coming so late. So not to cut off the conversation here, just to let you know what happened tonight. For those of you people have been wondering, like, why are we over here? My primary account is fine for now, although there's been some things happening recently, which, are creating some questions right like before, unfortunately. But what I'm trying to do now is to do part of the live is going to be on my primary account, and then I'm going to do part of it on the secondary account, this backup account here. So it's unfortunately one of the things that has to be done. You have to kind of move your audience where there's stability, right? And as much as I would love to make this my home, so to speak, it's like building a house on the sand, and you just never know when the waves are going to come in and knock it down. So that's just what it is. So anyway, and like I said, eventually I'm going to start moving some or all of my lives to different platforms, just because, what I told you. And some of it will be for the Patreon people. So people who are helping out will get to have access to some of my content and a lot of my lives that are for just people who help out. And eventually that's probably what I'll do is I'll have like a paywall, and I'll do 90% of my work there. And then 10% I'll do stuff like this. So it's not because I don't want to, it's just because I gotta survive like the rest of you all do. But my normal schedule, just to let you know, on my primary account, which is Chip Barnes 67. If you're not following that account, please do, because you'll get the notices. But I'll start there on Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. like we did tonight. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, so that folks like in the UK or in the Middle East can watch and it's not too late at night. I do it at 12 noon. This is all Eastern time, by the way, 12 noon to 2 p.m. So if you want to be able to follow me on my social media, if you kind of like these kind of conversations, you want to see more, I do have a lot of videos, by the way, both on this account as well as my primary account. I have a ton of videos. So if you want to check out my work, you can find any subject. I've covered a lot of stuff. It's really fun to go back and just watch the old stuff because one of the videos has like 4 million views now. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, so that's there. And then if you want to help me out in any way, shape, or form in my link tree, not only can you find my social media, but there are a couple of groups you can be a part of if you want to try to be part of an ongoing movement to try to make a difference in a lot of things. And you'll see the names, makes sense. And then also there's some ways to help out. So rather than doing it here, which I appreciate anybody who does anything, it's great to have anything, right? It's better than nothing. But TikTok, in their business model, they keep 70% of the donations that come in, which I think most people think is a little on the high side. It's their business, right? But so if you are going to help out, if you can do it on the ones that I've linked on there, that'd be better in terms of not that big hit taken out. So there are a couple of people that have been moderating with me for a while here. Maz is here, and I think EM. I want to thank those two. They've been really loyal followers and helpers for me. It makes it a lot easier for me to do the lives. If I did miss any of your questions in the chat, I apologize. And if there's somebody in the queue I didn't get to, I also apologize. I'm committed tonight to go to another person's live that I said I'd be on as a guest. So I usually try to go a little longer if we have more guests, but tonight I can't do it. So I apologize for that. But if you come on, let me see who's in here right now. It's Epi. So Epi, I apologize for tonight, but if you come in tomorrow, either at noon or a Monday at 8 p.m., I'll get you in there quick. Okay? So that's what's going on. If I missed your questions, bring them to the next one. And all of my lives are recorded. And at least the ones that they stop in the middle for some kind of a whatever, those I can't record. But I'm in the process this weekend of going through, 70 or 80 hours of this stuff and trying to get it up to my YouTube and my Rumble channels. So if you want to watch some pre-recorded lives even tonight or whatever, go to my link tree in my bio, click on it, and then just subscribe to the YouTube or the Rumble and you'll see the videos pop up there. Okay? The live I'm going to, I don't even remember their name. Someone sent me a link in Telegram. I haven't even looked at it yet, so I have to go back and look at it. But what you'll do is if you stick with me, I'm going to change out of this account back into my primary account, which is Chip Barnes 67. And then when I go in as a guest, it'll show my thing blinking like I'm in somebody's live. So give me 5 minutes or so. I'll be in there. Just look for my, Chip's going live thing. Okay. That's what it is. It's some sort of Palestinian conversation. I don't even know what it is. Just I've met some people along the way and they invited me, so I'm going. Okay. So that's what's going on. And I really appreciate everybody being here. Somebody named Gary Vaynerchuk said the new currency is attention. And I thought that was a great point. And so you've shared your attention with me tonight, which I really appreciate. Thank you so much. So we'll see you again soon. And I really appreciate you being here tonight, everybody. Take care.